Well, Americans lost more than $16 billion to scams in 2024 alone, according to the FBI. Now, a growing wave of scams aimed at the elderly is inspiring citizens to take action. A new article from the Free Press highlights these so-called scam vigilantes who want to protect Americans. They're hoping to bolster safeguards against fraud through legislation, education, and new technology. And joining us now, the Free Press reporter behind that article, Maya Sulkin. Now, we should note that the Free Press and CBS News are both owned by Paramount Skydance. Maya, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. This is interesting stuff. These anti-scammers you spoke with, they all have different intentions and stories. Tell us about them.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I spoke to 3 anti-scammers, and they're all coming at this, like you say, from a different perspective, but really to fill the gap that the government has left behind from protecting especially elder Americans from scams. One girl I spoke to is 17 years old, and she started a site called Shield Seniors after her grandfather was targeted by a scam. And that site really helps older Americans input things they're seeing online, and an LLM tells them if it should cause concern. Another person I spoke to is an ex-CIA officer whose mom lost really like all of her life savings to scams, and he started a program called Stop Scams Alliance, and they are really trying to create lobbying efforts to get the government to pay more attention to this. And the third person I spoke to is an ex-Palantir engineer who started a software company called Outtake, and he is really trying to work with big enterprise companies to protect their employees and their users.
These scammers are everywhere. Maya, why is it so difficult to catch these guys?
Yeah, so this is really a big part of the problem, and the problem is twofold. First, it's really hard to handle a crime that is not reported well. And most scam victims do not report the crimes because they're embarrassed, and they also don't think the government is going to do anything. The second reason is that most of these scammers are abroad. They're in Cambodia, they're in India. And so the FBI can't really seize the assets or even arrest the criminals because they're overseas.
What can we do to protect ourselves and prevent these scams?
You know, part of it is really trusting your gut and also helping, non-internet natives around you. You read some of these stories and alarm bells go off in your head, but that's because people like you or me are native to the internet, but that's not true for a lot of Americans. And so there are implementations that have happened in the UK and in Australia, like blocking spoof numbers that the US just hasn't implemented yet. But, your bank means it when they say that they're never going to call you and ask for information. So if you get that call, just don't pick up the phone.
Some good advice. Maya Sulkin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.